our book again is Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans, from Colonial Times to the Present, by Harriet A. Washington. And as I've gotten kind of, the book is broken into 3 parts, and I've gotten through the first 2 parts of it, and as I've been reading, I've been trying to think about, what kinds of questions it evokes for me, what our dialogue around this very difficult subject matter might be like. How we can engage in the dialogue in a way that doesn't lead us into, depression. And also, I think it's a little bit difficult reading, both in terms of the content and the style. She certainly keeps me in the dictionary, so I don't want that to be a barrier for anybody. But she does require that you step up your game to be able to access this material, and I'm not exactly sure who her main target audience is. But, I know we can handle it. But it's not necessarily the kind of material that evokes, I guess because it's so factual. She's giving us a whole lot of facts. And so it doesn't necessarily evoke the kind of imagination or imaginative questions that come out of like what we had with Alice Walker. So I'm thinking that we might be able to, instead of having to go through a whole lot to come up with questions each week, we could just have these kind of what I'm calling suggested standard questions. And if something else occurs to us as if it's our week to facilitate, if other questions occur, then certainly we can go with those questions. But I'm not sure that we should be racking our brain as hard to come up with creative questions as we did last session. So the 4 sort of standard questions that I think could apply to any chapter that occurred to me are: what did you learn from this week's reading selection? How did you feel about what you learned? What did you find most striking about the chapter, and why did it affect you that way? And what ideals do you have on protecting ourselves from medical violence? So how do you guys feel about that? Do you like the idea of standard questions, or you want to try to be creative each week?
I like it. It takes the load off.
Yeah. Well, I think the reading is it's such stressful reading, and quite frankly, I'm not enjoying it. So I can't even fathom after reading chapter 1 that I have the energy left to be creative if I wanted to be honest with you. It's very stressful reading, I found. And along with having to have a dictionary or Google's next to you, trying to keep the thought going in the process, I think standard questions will probably work out much better because you will not have the energy when you're done to get creative. That's a good idea.
Yeah, Okay, I do think the reading gets easier as you go along. I think in the first couple of chapters, she was trying to show us all the big words she knows.
Chapter 2, if I think about it. Chapter 1. As I read this, don't look for creativity from me because I was just tired. So,
yeah. So, I guess it wasn't a problem for Randie, huh?
The introduction was difficult.
Randie,
Can you hear me?
and you're going in and out. Yeah.
The introduction was difficult for me to get. It was dense, but the first chapter wasn't that.
Yeah.
I can see it getting better. I feel like the first chapter felt like the introduction, but like an interpreted introduction. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it gets easier and it gets better as you go along. Kim, have you started reading?
No, and I apologize. I've just been out of it, so
Okay.
I will catch up. And I did download it, so I'm just hoping to kind of catch up. But it was a little depressing, even what little I scanned. So it's like you got to put on your big girl shoes for this one.
Yes, and your big girl panties too. and as I said to Georgette, it's really you don't want to get too far behind on this one. But if you do get behind, my suggestion would be to read whatever each chapter is discrete. So if you kind of just stay current with whatever the current week's reading is, that's better than trying to go back and catch up from the beginning. That first chapter, the introduction, is really an exhaustive overview of what is going to be covered in more detail in each chapter. So that would be my suggestion, to read the current chapter.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so good. So whoever is facilitating can feel free to just add those 4 standard questions or come up with some more, and not spend a whole lot of time on that aspect of it.